Welcome back. With us here on Opening Fire. The market's up about 17, 18 points or so. This is the market's about 7629. Yesterday, the cabinet approved the real estate regulation bill. The cabinet approval had been done before as well, but the version which was approved yesterday incorporates the feedback of the select committee of the Rajya Sabha, including the opposition as well, which means that if the parliament were to function properly in an orderly manner, the chances of this bill being passed through the parliament are actually quite high. Let's get some perspective from a top builder. Niranjan Hiranandani is CMD with the Hiranandani Group. He's with us on a phone line. So good morning. Thanks very much for your time. Prashant this side. Could you talk to us about what to you stands out as the most important points of this bill, which of course needs to be passed by the parliament now?
I think the most important part is the question of transparency. I think a lot of information which was available to the developers in terms of approvals, passing of plans, the sizes of tenements, carpet area, built-up area, was not available to the actual final consumer. I think the transparency is the biggest factor of it all. So I think after this, information available to the consumer would be far more than what is available today. And there would be nothing hidden from the consumer in terms of the information available to it. I think that's the principal aspect of the whole thing. The other aspects, of course, are equally important, which is the fact that if there is a failure on the part of the developer in terms of delivery, then the kind of penal provisions which are there are severe against the developer, so the protection is there. There is a controversy between the builders and this, because in many cases it is beyond the capacity of the developer to do certain things. So I think all the developers are not in sync with the fact of it. But the first part of it is certainly excellent, which is a total transparency in terms of what the consumer, the client, the flat purchaser is going to get as distinguished from what it was available yesterday.
Right. So one is the primary objective is essentially restoring the confidence of the buyer, right? A real estate buyer. Yes. From a builder perspective, how much of the bill and what it contains leaves the sort of the speeding up, uncomplicating the approval process, etc. leaves that up to the local authorities, Mr. Hiranandani? How much of it is up to the local authorities to actually...
Land is a state subject. India is a big country. Every place has different rules and regulations, and it's quite complex in the places that are. So more or less it is understood that it is going to be at the local level that all these problems are going to be sorted, not at the national level with the regulatory bill. What is further complicated is the fact that they're saying that 70% of the amount would be escrowed in terms of retention, which would be kept in an escrow account for the purposes of it. Now, which means in reality that a large number of developers who are already stressed today are going to be further stressed after this regulation comes into the process, because now out of every 100 rupees that is going to be received by the developer, he has to escrow 70 rupees before he can actually use it. And I think that is an issue which is going to become difficult, because the banks and financial institutions are now wary of giving more money to the developers for their projects. And if this is going to be escrowed, then I don't know how that is going to happen. So I guess we will have to work around that factor over a period of time. And that's going to be, as an overall position, more stressful financially for the developers. So I think that's an issue which we really have to look into.
Mr. Hiranandani, thank you very much for your time, sir. Good getting that perspective from you. Quick word in from Niranjan Hiranandani, CMD with the Hiranandani Group there. There's news on Havells which is coming in.